After a little bit of fiddling around, had to make some minor adjustments in my assembly process. All the drawer slide braces are in, and if y'all follow this, building your own similar to this, my advice, put these in first, because if you're trying to screw in the ends, there's your screw holes. You can't do it with this brace here, or this support bar here. Put your middle ones in, level the back brace out, screw it to the ends there, and that'll help give you a reference to put these on and line them up better. And also on these ends here, you put a small block of wood, the same like cut off from these, put it in here in between your leg and your rail. It will give you an extra brace to push against with this, so your the support bar doesn't move anywhere while you're trying to screw it in. And once you get your second one in, you can measure this distance from here and transfer it to your bottom and get all your support bars in. So next step after this, we'll be putting these fancy high dollar drawer slides in here like that. I probably got too long of ones, but we'll make it work. So yeah, that's where we're at. Next step is drawer slides. Alright, so I figured I'd pop in real quick and show you easy way to install these drawer slides. I already got the I already got 3 drawers done. I'm working on the top ones now. I'm just going to show you how to do one real quick. When you want to do, get you a flat piece of wood like this, clamp it to the bottom side of your rail, and rest your drawer slide on top of that, and do that for every one of them, and your slides will be perfectly level and even, and they'll be parallel to each other, and won't be any binding issues going on. What we're going to do first, give you better access to screwing it in, a little tab right here. Pop that out, put that to the side. You don't need it right now. Take your slide, rest it in there, like that. Drill, screw, make sure it's flush on the end. There's one. Find your front screw hole. 2, and make sure you push down on it so it stays flat. There's 2 more. I'll put in here. Fourth one here. Get this off. Don't drop your block. Insert your slide. Voila. That's it. And just repeat the rest of them. Alright, so now that I got the top cut down and the drawer front faces drawer fronts, whatever you call them, all cut down to length and cut down to width. It's time to start doing a rough sand. And main goal of that is to get rid of like these little fine glue lines right here, and any joint movement lines. You have the wood's raised up a little bit in one spot or another. So we're going to be hitting that with an aggressive sandpaper first to clean it up real good. My advice, get some 60 grit, just like that. It's really rough and abrasive, and it will knock down all the glue, uneven wood. It'll bring everything uniform. It's really good for it. We're going to use that on both sides of the top here. We're just only going to sand the bottom side of the top once because no one's ever going to see it, and I really don't feel like messing with it that much. We're going to hit on the frame here, all these joints. We're going to go over with the 60 grit, kind of smooth them out. On the front here, all these joints are going to be cleaned up real good. And then once we've done 60 grit, you get your next next grit sandpaper up, which is 80 grit, and that'll further smooth out the surface and clean all this up real good, make it look real nice. But then once we get sanded down with 80 grit, we'll round the corners off that are facing in front, so there's no sharp edges sticking out in front there. And then we're going to get the router, a plunge router with the round over bit, and on the top side of this, we'll run it along the edge here, break up the sharp edge, profile edge, and we'll run it on the long legs here to get rid of the sharp edges on the corners, so no one gets hurt while bumping into it. And it makes it look more pleasing to the eye too. And if you're just getting into this woodworking, you're going to learn to love to hate sanding. It is not fun by any means. If you have a big drum sander, good, great. Or know somebody has one, even better, they can sand this down for you in like 20 minutes or less. But I'm not that fortunate, so I just have a palm sander. It's going to take a while, so I ain't going to record all that. I'm just letting you know it sucks. And it sucks. But let's get to it. So I am done with all the sanding that I'm going to do. I just did the 60, 80, and 120 grit on the drawer faces, fronts, whatever, and the top of the dresser. The rest of it is sanded down, smooth enough. It's not getting stained, so I don't have to worry about the sanding being smooth or the boards being really clean. So I don't have to mess with doing any final work sanding on the body. But I did do a little extra aesthetic look to it. You can do this too if you want. Took a cap from a container, like a cap about yay big, and put it on here, and then traced around it, cut it with a jigsaw on both ends, and sanded it smooth. And then just took my router and routed all on the edges here to give it a nice smooth edge. That's the bit I use, the plunge router. Did it all the way around the top here. I'll try to do like, see if you see this. Around the legs off, all four corners, that way there's no sharp edges sticking out. You know, so no bumps it or gets cut against it. So now we have everything sanded to where I want it. Our next step, which is going to take a little bit to do, I don't know how far I want to get, at the moment is take some measurements of the inside here, the width from this slide to this slide, and probably from maybe a 1/2 inch in to a 1/2 inch here, and make the and the measurement for the gate opening here, and start cutting the pieces. Sorry, my throat's like really dry. Cutting the pieces from the plywood, start making these drawers. When I have everything done, I'll explain that step as I get to it. I'm not going to jump too far ahead of myself. So I'm going to fish out all the plywood that I need to start cutting and go from there. Alright, so here's the plywood we're going to use to make the drawer boxes with. Should be plenty of material there to make all 5 drawer boxes with. It's 1/2 inch thick stock, 2 foot wide, 8 foot long, so it's a full sheet of plywood. What we're going to do, since these pieces are too big to cut with a miter saw, it only cuts to like 13 inches max cut, and these are 24, so I'm going to mark a rough length on them, maybe 1/2 inch longer than they need to be, cut them with the circular saw, rip them down on the table saw to the width they need to be, and then trim them up on the miter saw to get them down where they need to be. Do a couple dry fits, make sure everything is kosher, it's good to go, and then I will use the router over there or my dado stack, I'm not sure which yet, to cut a 1/4 inch deep groove, or maybe a little bit shallower, through these boards near the bottom of each piece. And these pieces here, I'm going to cut the bottoms of the drawer boxes. Once I get these cut, make sure everything's squared away, then I'll cut these out, slide them into the grooves. I know I'm all over the place, I'm talking with my hands. And as long as everything lines up, we got a perfectly square box, we'll be good to go. I'll use some glue and some brads to assemble them, and then we can slide them in there and screw them into the slides, tack the drawer fronts to them, screw them in from the back side, and attach the top, and we'll be good to go. So let's get the saw out and start cutting these boards up. This square here is just long enough. So I'm going to mark a couple more spots to make sure that my line is true and I'm not cutting at a crooked angle. And it seems like it's pretty square. Marks. And these pieces here are going to be the what I'm cutting now are going to be the parts that get screwed into the drawer slides. And this piece here is wide enough. I can get 3 side pieces out of one cut. So 3, 6, and then one more down there, and we'll start cutting the bigger ones. With the circular saw it real quick. And when you're using any power tool, especially loud ones, no, they're all loud. mostly. Hearing protection, eye protection, your biggest friends. You only got 2 ears and 2 eyes. Save them. Might be a little bit on the loud side. That's that. We'll cut the rest of them and then we'll see all over on the table saw. So unfortunately, my tripod decided to fall over and break the mount that was holding all this up. So I won't be able to record anymore the different processes and steps that I'm doing each stage along the way. We're almost finished this anyway, so there's really not much more to show, but I'll just show you the aftermath of what I've done versus showing you what I'm doing each step. So that's where we're at with that. So next step is cutting all these pieces down to their final length. They may need some adjustment on them lengthwise and all that jazz, but I'm gonna take them over to miter saw, get them all cut down, and then start doing some rough assembly. Alright, got all the pieces cut down to their final length. I went through and set up my router table with a 3/8 inch bit and set the cut depth to a 1/4 inch deep and a 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch up from the bottom here. And what, I don't have a small enough piece to put in here to show you, but what happened is these boards here, I'll be able to do it from the side. Yeah. It's not going to cooperate. It's going to take a little help, but basically the bottom pieces are going to sit in there like this and gonna make the box. So my next step is cutting out the bottoms to all these pieces here and getting them all assembled. Let's get that going. Alright, all those pieces that are rough cut, I glued 3 of the sides together and secured them with 1.25" brads. I left the opening in there just so I could slide the bottom in and, you know, adjust as needed. Here's all the bottom pieces that are cut. Slide in a drawer. Had to do a test fit with one, but this is ultimately what it looks like, or will look like when they're all done. It's perfectly square and has no issues to it. Nice and stable. And if you flip it up, you can see a little 1/4 inch lip all the way around. Again, you know, you don't have to copy these measurements exactly. It's whatever measurements you want to do for your dresser. You can make it really big, you can make it small, you can make it tall, you can make it long, however you want to do it. But the steps I've shown you so far, little video clips, will help you to get to that. And once all these boxes are assembled, the drawer boxes, then I'll put them in here with some shims and screw the drawer slides into them. And then from there, I can attach the front faces to all the drawers and secure the top and this thing will be done. And again, I'm not staining it or painting it, I'm just making it. So you'll see a finished product here shortly. We'll do the drawer box fit next after I get all these built. Okay, so all the drawer boxes are done. Again, sorry I couldn't show this assembly process since my tripod died on me. But they're all assembled, and I got them all installed into the dresser with the use of this spacer, which rested on the rails like this, and gave me just enough space to rest the drawer boxes on, and screwed them in and show you how it, I mean, they just glide right on out. If I get this big boy out. There we go. And look at that. That's some nice sized drawers. Plenty of stuff to fit in there. And that's that. All you gotta do now is, not tonight, but later, install the drawer faces on there, and then put the top on, and it'll be ready to rock and roll. So we'll get to that at a later point. Just needs the drawer fronts, put the top on, and it's done. Alright, so had to do a little bit of adjusting on the drawer faces. They're a little bit too thick and they weren't sitting flush with the frame like I wanted them to. So after back and forth the planer and setting them in here, I finally got them right. And I used little pieces of wood like this, about 1/8 inch, maybe a little bit less thick, and I put 2 on the bottom, 1 on the side, and another shim over here to even them out. And then when I'd mark the center like this of each board and drill a screw through the face and into the box behind, and it'll come out there. And I use 6 screws to hold it in place, hold the box to the face board. And where these screws are at, these are temporary, they can be painted over, I don't care. But once they're painted, then these screws will come out and the dresser knobs will go in place of that. I just let the screw sticking out a little bit to it has like a little temporary handle to grab. So that's where we're at there. If you're following along, you know, I'd love to show you again. Tripod broken, can't do that. I can just explain it the best I can. That drawer's done, pop it out. I'll do that drawer next, then pop both of those out to do the bottom one, and then we can start installing the top and get it out of here. And here is our dresser, fully assembled and ready to go. It's just in storage for in here right now, until it get painted. But all the drawers fit perfectly. They slide. Boom. Nice size drawer box for whatever. Big one at the bottom. For, I don't know, you put your dog in there or a cat. Actually, King, don't do that. Turned out a lot better than I expected it to. I'm just making this out of pine. And construction grade pine at that. And free plywood. Never, ever turn down free plywood. That's the whole back of this is just furniture grade, 1/2 inch plywood. There's a lot of dust on this thing. But there you have it. You set your mind to it, get you an idea and a vision of what you want to build, and just go at it. If you make mistakes, that's fine. You learn from your mistakes and you move on, and you get better as you go. I'll show y'all something. This is the twin of the dresser I just built. This is the very first dresser I ever built. Made it out of red oak. It's a solid dresser, but you know, I made mistakes on it and I learned from those mistakes. You know, the drawer slide alignment, like that bottom one doesn't always work right, but it functions and it will last a long time. So you go back to this one and look, Photo Bomber Kitty. It's the same design, same measurements, length, width, height. Only thing I changed up was just I added 2 extra drawers instead of 3 big ones. So it's come a long way. I really like this one. Can't wait to see what it looks like once it's painted. And that's it for this series. Thanks for watching.